Welcome to the Rehearsal Room podcast.
Click track rolling. All right, I think we're going.
Check.
I wore my vintage
Your
green
vintage shirt?
shirt for this. Come to find out, we're not video recording anything.
Vintage green.
Yeah, I was freaking out because Coulter asked me to do this, and I was like, I am wearing acne medicine all over my face. I woke up like 30 minutes ago, and so I like scrambled, finished a fiver, and ran in the bathroom and got ready. And he walks in, and he's like, "It's not video recorded," and I was like, "Okay." So
no one is.
I'm the last to know. Maybe it's better. I'm the last to know that kind of thing. Yeah. I'm prepped just in case. So
Not video recorded yet.
So everyone joining us on this exciting installment of Rehearsal Room podcast.
Is that the jingle?
We'll
Is that
have
the
to make
official
sure
jingle?
once we get mics no longer moving because we don't want any of that on there. No, Coulter made a cool jingle. Coulter made a cool jingle for the Rehearsal Room podcast. I heard it and I was like, did it take you long? Did you make that?
Yeah.
That's good.
Like 30 seconds.
So
I like how I'm finding out about him creating jingles through the podcast because he never.
It was really
told me.
good.
We've already recorded 2 episodes.
So we have parents and stuff that listen to this. They're getting to know. Not everybody's here at all the same time. And I was thinking, what should we do the next couple episodes on? I was like, man, we have so many talented young lady musicians here, and we have so many talented adult lady musicians. We should talk about that one time. So London's awesome. Aldara's awesome. Aldara Purvis. Everybody say hi, Aldara.
Hello.
So Aldara is a drummer, producer, in some aspects worship leader, worship facilitator at a church. You play piano, guitar. You taught here for 5 years?
Almost
4
7.
years? Almost 7? I don't know if it's been open for 7 years.
6 maybe? I started
Maybe.
in 2017, like the beginning.
And London,
He made me.
who's married to Coulter, his better second half, she toes the line. Insane singer-songwriter, singer and songwriter. And then she has her own business where essentially, for you guys who don't even know this exists, people all around the country will request... World.
Yeah.
Globe.
Sometime pretty soon going solar system. Will request vocals, either overdubs, background vocals, whatever, and London records her voice at her home studio, sends those out. So she's essentially a session vocalist. She just doesn't go to all these different studios because that would be impossible, and you don't need to do that for the internet. She has her own band. Coulter plays in it. They tour. We got a lot of talent between the two you guys, and I just hoping we could do some questions and talk. And does that sound cool?
Sounds alright.
I'm hyped up.
Is her voice recording? I'm concerned.
Her
yeah.
Zoom's recording.
Yeah, her Zoom's recording.
Yeah.
So say. Oh, sorry.
In the room.
We didn't let London say hi. Say hi, London.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm London. I'm a wife of Coulter.
Oh, and also,
Oh, wife.
and a mother of.
And Oliver.
We'll let London fill in.
Yeah.
Tell us about Oliver.
Oh, no.
Oh, London froze.
Oh, she's back.
She's back. London. So London, I left out the important fact that you're also a mom. Mom-y.
Mm-hmm.
How old's your boy?
22 months, so close to being 2.
Nice.
And it's super fun and peaceful around here.
Oh,
Never.
Yeah. All right. So
But
I
he's
thought
cute.
I thought I'd start us with some interesting female music trivia.
Oh, no.
I know.
I didn't study.
No, you don't have to know this.
I'm
stuff.
already blank.
I might quiz because then we do a little quiz
always
on.
blank on these
We'll
things.
quiz some listeners as
Stephen
well.
X to everything. Stephen X everything. Always.
There are only 6 artists who have sold more than 250 million records. Only one of them, sadly, is a female. Now remember that most of these acts started in the 50s. They weren't putting out a lot of females, which is sad. It's 1950s. 1960s, That's when the Beatles happened. Everybody knows the Beatles is one of them.
Yep.
Can either of you name the one female act who has sold more than 250 million records?
Taylor Swift.
I was gonna say
It is not Taylor Swift.
she's got to be up there though with them.
It's not. It's not Taylor. So that's her. Can you guess somebody? We'll get to Tay. Don't worry.
I don't even know who could be up there. I mean, just because Taylor just released
Like
something,
a
but...
virgin.
Oh, Madonna.
Madonna.
Really?
Yep.
I figured she was up there.
She's up there. So Madonna's the only one, and she's right behind. She's right above Queen. Sold more records than Queen.
Oh wow.
Jeez.
And no, I'm sorry. She's behind Queen, and she's above one of London's favorite acts, Led Zeppelin.
Nice.
Sold more records than Led Zeppelin. How about that? Hey, I like that, Jimmy Page. Okay, so then the years go by. You're selling fewer records because it's the 90s and the 2000s. Everybody's streaming stuff. In the 200 million to 249 million, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 7 acts are women, which is cool to me because it's like, all right, here come the ladies. Can you guys name any of the 5 to 7? We already got one. That's Taylor.
I mean, Beyonce.
Beyonce is number 2. She's one of them.
Is it solo artists or is it bands with?
I don't think there are any. I don't think there are any groups in that group
groups?
except for the Eagles. That was. I mean, they're
Because
obviously don't.
Fleetwood was going to be one I was going to throw out.
They are
there.
not. They are not in that category. So Taylor is one.
It would be Ariana Grande.
Ariana is not, but Rihanna is.
I was
Rihanna.
Beyonce, Whitney, Taylor. We already said her, and Celine Dion.
That's a good mix.
Celine Dion.
Like out of all those, that's a good diverse mix.
Yeah, right. So anyway, here's my next fact I pulled up that I thought was pretty interesting, and then we'll dive into you guys. Okay, so this one you kind of have to put your thinking caps on. Of all the records ever made, there are only 11 albums that had more than 5 songs that charted in the top 5. So you got a record, you have 5 songs, they all went to top 5 on the Billboard. All right. There's only 11 artists. 11 of these records came from females. Sorry. 11 artists. 11 records, sorry. 7 of these records came from females. Can you name any of the females?
7 out of 11.
I mean, Taylor Swift.
Taylor's not one.
Really?
I know.
She doesn't have a record.
Now remember,
with
it's a
5
very
number
strange
ones?
record. It's a very strange thing to make because it's a record that had 5 top 5 singles. Bruce Springsteen is not on this list. He's my
I
dude.
can't believe Taylor Swift doesn't have a record.
She does not
that
have a
has
record with 5. Now you could have like 4 number 1s, but
Yeah.
not another top 5, and it doesn't make this list. So
Adele?
Adele is not on there.
I was about to hit Adele.
Adele's not on there.
Maybe Rihanna then, because she.
Rihanna is not on there, but those are great guesses, everybody.
Yeah, I was going to go with Adele.
There's 7 of them?
There are 11 records. 7 of these records came from females.
Okay.
Janet Jackson has 2 of these records.
Really?
Not only is she on the list, she has 2.
Huh.
I'm thinking just pop.
Okay,
know?
I'll
I
just.
wouldn't
They're all
think-
pop. They're all
Yeah,
pop.
but
And they're
I
all.
wouldn't think
Most of
her.
them for Madonna was one of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 3.
Oh, surprising.
Does anybody want to guess any of the others before I throw them out there?
All the
It's
ones
clo-
you're saying
It's
are not
close
ones I
to
thought.
Taylor Swift. She's like she's kind of in that genre and in the time period as Taylor. Super successful.
What, like Miley Cyrus or something?
Not Miley.
Miley Cyrus.
Mi-
Yeah,
my
but-
God.
She's
Hannah
done it.
Montana.
She's done a halftime show. I'll give you a hint. She's done a halftime show.
Oof.
And she's like Taylor Swift.
Katy Perry is who I was
Oh.
trying to get at.
So not like Taylor Swift at
Well,
all.
I just mean like it's
Whoa.
the same
genre.
Of the
Singer.
like female pop stars. Yeah.
I totally forgot
Perry.
Okay,
about Katy.
Madonna's got an album. Katy Perry, Teenage Dream. Fergie.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
Fergie-licious had 5 top 5 songs on it. Not a fan.
This isn't
Sorry,
a good
not a
list.
fan. Paula Abdul.
Okay.
And then Janet Jackson had Rhythm Nation, and Janet was after that. I think it was.
I
Janet.
wouldn't have got any of
Isn't
those.
that weird?
No, that's-
Isn't that weird? Now
Katy
the,
Perry is the only one that I would have
Yeah.
been like, yeah.
the other records was
Yeah.
Michael Jackson had 2, Genesis had one of them, George Michael had 1,
Genesis.
and the last one was Milli Vanilli.
Oh, God, I
Can you
wouldn't
believe
got
that?
any of those.
Isn't that a weird list? All right.
That's
Well, that was our little
whack.
trivia to get us started. Hopefully people are entertained driving around listening to this or whatever. So here's my questions. We've got a few questions for you guys. And, you know, I'm just interested. What I'm hoping out of this is that you guys will feel kind of comfortable telling your story. Maybe a parent, maybe one of the students will hear it. And they'll get some encouragement from a big sister. So, Aldara, I'm going to throw the first one your way. Can you tell me who inspired you growing up that was either a female musician or female artist? Who inspired you to kind of go, I think this is my path here?
Honestly, one of the first that comes to my head is my great Aunt Hallie.
Oh.
Of family, I think, and then I'll get to like people I don't know, maybe, like artists or whatever. She was a singer in Mexico for a lot of her life, and she just like my earliest memories. I can remember her just like encouraging me to be weird, be an artist, do music, all that kind of stuff at a really young age, and just perform and all that kind of stuff. And she just was one of those biggest like cheerleader personalities, anyways. And so that's one of my earliest memories, I think, of that. And my grandmother on my dad's side, I think they definitely helped me or pushed me to kind of really, just explore music as a girl. I was one of the only females in my family that did music. I'm trying to think as an artist. I can't remember her name, which sucks, but probably when I was about, I don't know, 9 or 10, I must have been at some conference with music and saw the first female drummer I think I've ever seen.
All right.
I can't remember her name because I was so shy, so like I didn't even want to talk to her. Actually.
What age were you?
I must have been between like 7 and 10, I think, because I didn't get like my first drum set or instrument around about till that age. And then I saw her, and she actually was just like on this big stage, the drum set in the center, high up, like kind of moment, and just playing literally in a denim jacket, blonde ponytail, just roughing it and stuff. And I like couldn't take my eyes off of watching her play, and she was so sweet. I don't remember her name. I think she was like a guest musician to this conference, but
I'm really interested. So before I ask London the same questions, what is it to you about females in the drummer slot that's unique as far as a band goes? Is there something to me different about when the female is the drummer versus bass player, keyboarder, singer? Why is that different? Or do you think it's different at all?
I think it can be different, yeah, because thinking of like a band setting, right? Like the drums are usually in the back, but they're the foundation of the rhythm and of the band, like the backbone. And a lot of the times you just happen to see, generally like a back line of musicians being all males, which is great. And so it's just kind of a different look, one, when you see a girl back there, when you're used to maybe seeing them up front singing or playing a different instrument or whatever. And so I feel like it always has a different look, and I feel like it's kind of a power move.
It's so appealing to me. I just love it.
You don't even have to say anything.
No.
I mean, it's cool if some girls can like play and do that. That makes me think of my first student here, Danu, who started to teach her drums, and
shout out Danu Smith.
Yes, miss that girl. And so I think that was just a really cool. It's just an abstract thing.
Great. Well, turn it over here quickly. First off, thank you, Aldara. So London, same question to you. Growing up, do you remember a musician that may have inspired you to think, and so guys, just if you're listening, Aldara, if she's performing 99 times out of 100 I've seen her, she's in the drum throne. She's playing drums. London, she's a front person for her band, so she's her own act. So you're a singer. So yeah, you grew up, obviously you saw a lot of female singers, but maybe it wasn't as uncommon. But still, was there somebody who you were like, okay, that's who I'm going to be?
So growing up as a elementary school kid in the early 2000s, there's a lot of really powerful pop singers on the radio. And I had an older sister. I have an older sister who was a teenager at the time. And so she kind of inspired me to get better because I wanted to be better than her, even though I'm 8 years younger than her.
Cool.
So we would drive around to go to all of our soccer games and things. And I remember some of my earliest memories are singing like Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and just trying to emulate what they're doing vocally, which was like my own little voice lesson, which was crazy because now growing up I can do all those things that I always wished I could do. And it was really cool transitioning as we started growing up. We listened to a lot of Dixie Chicks, their early stuff, which was a little bit more, it was country, which is not my thing, but it was almost like protest music in some ways and things. So that kind of made my ear turn more to rock. And a lot of the female rock artists that I am super inspired by, and a lot of the like almost androgynous male artists that like really flex that femininity that they have inspired me.
Who comes to mind there, if you don't mind me asking?
David Bowie in his Ziggy phase is super inspirational just because it was like he was a person, but that femininity came out. Obviously, Freddie Mercury. I prance around stage because he did. And then on the vocal side of things, like Janis Joplin, I learned how to hit that gravelly part of my voice listening to her and listening to Freddie and trying to do that. And so it's a really cool mix of female artists that inspire that, and then the femininity in male artists from that same era that kind of unlocked that like thing in my brain that was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do it this way, even if that music's not popular right now. And now rock is coming back full swing for my generation. So yeah, it's a mix of all of those pop divas, rock divas. Yeah.
So I guess, my next question, this is the one I'm most interested in, but I want to preface it by saying, disclose only what you want. I'm interested to hear about challenges. It's hard enough getting a gig. I mean, that's hard, period. Like every musician knows that just getting a gig is hard.
Hustle.
But at the same time, I'm also interested to know, again, remember we have 5, 6, 7-year-old young ladies here that go here. I had a 6-year-old young lady who was my daughter when she started here. Now she's 11, and she is playing violin and singing at school. But I'm wanting them to hear potentially, maybe a parent passes this on that, hey, it's common to encounter these kind of challenges and you're going to overcome them. But is there a story maybe you'd like to share?
Yeah.
Go. Now there's like, how much time you got? How much?
Well, it just makes me think like I've been playing music professionally.
Why did you put quotes around that?
I don't know, because I started young, and
well,
I feel
just mean
like people are like
you got
professionally.
paid.
Like I think like I got paid to play my first
joking.
gig at like 13 or 14.
Whoa.
Yeah, and because I started like I got my first instruments, all that kind of stuff, and lessons when I was probably 7 or 8 years old.
You went like bedroom to gig 5 years.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I started playing early, like in church was like kind of my first exposure to like live music in a sense, and seeing people play, and then the concerts later on. And my parents, which I just get a big shout out, just really invested a lot into me with that. My dad comes from very like kind of bluesy, southern 70s rock and roll kind of stuff, and then my mom's very like 80s pop disco stuff. So I kind of, and then actually playing like church music and whatever kind of hodgepodge of that you can think of is like my musical influences, I feel like. But yeah, I think, and then just them really encouraging me to play music and pursue that at a young age, I think really helped me. One, too, with I think my work ethic with music too, because music can be just one of those very like hobby things, or that fine line of like, I want to do this, make money, And I just for years playing in church, and I feel like trying to pay my dues. And then I had a drum mentor, William Berry, who kind of came into my life and really took me under his wing at a young age, and if not for him, I don't think I would have like been as eager to play outside of my little bubble.
Sure.
And then filling it for him and just really starting to network as a young teenager.
Right.
And just kind of, I was like, oh, I can kind of do this a
Yeah.
little bit, you know? And that kind of snowballed. Yeah, I think I paid for my first car from my gig money as a teenager.
Shut up.
I'm really proud of it because and I beat up that car after that, going from gig to gig to gig, you know, throughout my teenage years and young adulthood, and still, you know, and so, but throughout that, I guess to answer your question, you know, I'm really grateful that my parents like work ethic of no matter what you're doing, just remain professional, but doesn't always mean the other people are going to do that you work with, right? You come across, and so I think that was my biggest thing of that I can think of, coming with that perspective of thinking, okay, I'm going to treat every gig like that, whether big or small, you know, because you never know who's listening. You never know how it's going to connect. And it's a really small world in the music world, you know, like either in the South or big cities and stuff like that. And throughout different like stages of life, I think kind of being under my parents' wing at a younger age doing that versus a young woman, and kind of feeling like that shift,
Right.
if that makes sense,
Right.
is what I can kind of think of. You know, I think I played my first not church gig around 16 or 17, and it was one of the smaller rooms upstairs in the House of Blues downtown Houston. And that's where I got offered like my first beer and thought it was cool, stuff like that. I was like, I can't drink beer right now. You know, kind of attitude. But I want to rock and roll. It was like my attitude. You know, but then around that age was when I first started playing with older guys, you know,
Right.
because they're, you know, artists I would come across.
That ever intimidates you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Half of them, I think, growing up playing in Houston, the church and secular music world is very kind of intertwined. So I remember just this being kind of a mix of that and not really kind of knowing what's going on, but just trying to roll with the big dogs, quote, you know, and kind of being in those kind of uncomfortable situations sometimes where I would meet half of these people in a church, play some fun church music, and then they would have another gig as I got older.
Sure.
You know, I wasn't even able to do that kind of stuff probably till around that age anyways. And so trying to, you know, talk
Well,
about
that's
that
a
line.
mix of growth you had to go through there.
Yeah, and at that age too, I was just trying to say yes to every gig. You know, never seeing where it could lead. But don't get me wrong, like I've really grateful for like the people I have met throughout that, but also over the years, kind of seeing like, okay, that's the kind of person I don't want to work with. That's kind of do. Sometimes you gotta go
Don't
learn the
want to
hard
meet
way.
you again.
Yeah, and just like slowing down when you're like kind of at the age of being able to like really go out on your own and do that kind of a thing.
Right.
You know, where there's really kind of looser rules in the music industry with that. You know, as far as like business and gigs come, it's very like networking and word of mouth kind of a thing. You know.
Well, that's awesome, Aldara. Thank you for. I mean,
Yeah.
like, I had no idea you went through all that. That's crazy. London. I mean, I know you started performing super young. But does one thing, I don't know, like, you know, you're 10 years old and you want to be you now. Was there a particular challenge that you would want to share with, you know, maybe somebody you've seen moving through Rehearsal Room that you're like, you know, if you just know this is coming, it's okay. You're going to get through it. Well, I don't know. What comes to mind off the dome?
So I have a couple things. So in my own career, I started playing paid gigs and bringing out my little guitar when I was 12, when we moved to Houston from my small town. And it was really hard in the beginning to, one, be taken seriously as a performer at such a young age.
But by whom, if I can interrupt? By booking agents, by crowds, by...
All of the above.
Wow.
It's just one of those things where you see a little girl in a lace dress get up on a stage by herself who looks terrified. What's she gonna do? And should we, you know, are they even gonna book you at that point? But the point was it didn't matter if it was a paid show, or if it was like a showcase, or if it was anything I could get on stage, I did it. And then over time, just like in school, like if you don't get if you're not understanding a subject, you have to keep studying and practicing and doing, your times tables or whatever until you could do it in your sleep. And when I finally hit that stride, I was in high school. And people finally started tilting their head and saying, "Oh, okay, we see she's got it there," because I had worked and cultivated it, and it was really hard. And even as an adult, being taken seriously by booking agents initially, because I do all my own booking for my band, which Aldara is my drummer for, and I do all of my marketing and all.
Oh yeah, how did you?
Well, no, I just meant
I know we got the girl
I didn't
power.
draw that. Honestly, I didn't. Even think,
nice to meet you, London. Hey.
When I set this up, I didn't
Nice
even
to
think about
meet you.
that. That's not why I did that. I was like, yeah, you guys.
Yeah.
And mine, I add to, like, I'm very picky about artists I play with now post-COVID because of all that saying yes to gigs, people yes and no and stuff, and being more strategic now and seeing how, I guess it's been almost a year of playing for London and how, like, consistent. I tell people this all the time, not just, like, how great of a vocalist and person she is, but, like, she's very consistent, and that shows.
Yes.
And it's fun getting to as a band member, you know.
And I'm sorry, we're going to talk about London in her presence. Because I'm much older than both of you. The thing that hit me about her was, and this is the reason why I wanted her to talk, is this girl is not here to play games.
Nope.
She is ready to work. Like, she gets to the show, and it's like, there's okay, boom, these photos are getting taken by this person. Okay, boom, I'm doing this and putting it on my Instagram stories. Okay, boom, I do this for sound check. Okay, boom, I want this in my monitors.
Go get her.
Okay, boom, and I'm just like, this girl is working. Like, I don't see that in most musicians, period, And so, and London, I don't know if you remember this. We did a show at Do-Si-Do. I'm going to throw something out there because it's going to be mostly adults, and I want you to say no if you don't want me to tell a story. Okay. Do you remember the sound guy?
Yeah.
Do you remember he made a comment?
I don't remember the comment, but
I'll just say this. He made a comment about your appearance, and I found it greatly offensive. And I was just like, dude, you're working for her tonight. And he just made a comment about the fact that you're very attractive. But he made it in a way that I was like, I almost emailed the owner, Steve, and I was like, you need to fire this guy.
Well, and it's kind of part of what I was saying earlier. It's hard to be taken seriously as the workhorse because I've always been that way. I have anxiety, and the way I work through it is tackling everything I can possibly control on my own, and that includes my shows. There's going to be things thrown your way, and you can control your performance and what you're doing and what you've been practicing. But one of the biggest things is like Aldara said, it can be intimidating, especially when you get in situations like that, because I haven't always had the confidence and the means to say, like, if I have a random guy who's been drinking at a show come up to me and he's being, pushy, I haven't always had the confidence to be like, hey, I'm at work right now, and I used to just be like, well, thank you, and then it would lead to one another. But I don't let it get to me, because sure, they can think what they want, but what they are going to remember is the performance that I put on, the voice, everything else. If they think I'm cute or whatever, cool. But I'm only offended when it gets past a certain point. And that's another reason why before the pandemic, I was gigging. This was before I met my husband. I was gigging on my own as a 20-year-old girl, hauling my equipment to shows all over Texas by myself. And that's really, really hard. But my mom always taught me to be, an intimidating woman that won't let someone push you around. But it got to a point because I had lost some weight. I'd looked a lot older, where it was getting really hard to go to these shows alone just because of the men. So I met Coulter and immediately brought him along. And it's like having your team behind you makes you stronger. And I've run into that a lot. And it's just kind of one of those things where you smile and wave and you go do your job and you let that fall off because it could be uncomfortable.
And if I may say, so I've got 2 daughters. My youngest, Lucy, there's no question, she's a performer. She's only 4, and it's just like, oh man, and she's beautiful. Caroline, also beautiful, but she's more of like, she's kind of like a steady kid, and she loves music. And as I spend time around you too, and I think about how talented you are, the fact of the matter is your talent opens doors, and then that means you have to deal with people. And I think I was just so struck that night with London and I are standing on the same stage. London and I are singing the same length of set. London and we're doing the same job, and she has to do it totally different than I do. And then because there's this guy, and technically he works for her. And it just, I don't know.
Audacity.
Well, I mean, and you guys even kind of laughed that stuff off, but I never shared this with you. I literally walked off and I was like, if I email Steve, that guy's not going to work here anymore, and I think I'm going to do it. I was so mad. I was like, this girl is going to be
maybe it's
big
good
someday.
You didn't hear the comment or don't remember
Yeah.
London.
Yeah. She was standing right, she let it just roll right past her, and then she went right on to tell him about, I want this and this and this, and I was like, she is such a pro, Anyway, thanks for letting us talk about that. I just wanted to touch on it briefly, and I thank you also for sharing just the things about Coulter and things that you guys implement to make sure you're protected, because you deserve that. And Aldara, you've been in dingy clubs and you're hauling drums at 2 a.m.
Thank you for listening to part 1 of this episode of the Rehearsal Room podcast. Make sure to come back for part 2, which will come out at the beginning of December.